To start, we're going to welcome our guest for this hour, trial attorney Christa Ramey. Christa, I want to piggyback on something this defense attorney just said, who's representing Randolph. He sees significant problems with the crime scene. Do you agree or disagree with him?
Well, I think that we are seeing problems unfold with the crime scene, but I don't know how they really favor the defense necessarily, because you have there's some discrepancies about where the shell casings were, which I think that there was a great job in cross-examination, but there was also some discrepancies about whether someone was masked or not, and about turning his wife over because she would look disgusting. And there were, so there's some problems I think that the defense has in explaining why the crime scene looked the way it looked and how it doesn't really match up with the defendant's story. On the flip side, because of time, the passage of time, I think that the defense is scoring a lot of points on these cross-examinations and making it, a little bit more difficult for the prosecution.
Yeah, I agree, Christa. I think at the end of the day, for instance, today, with this expert, I thought the cross-examination, when he was done, it again is a witness that I said was a wash. I wasn't sure that I took anything away from his testimony after the cross, and in total, that pushed the state's case forward. I mean, at the end of the day, what I took away was it's very difficult to predict where these casings are going to land. This was an active scene. There was a tussle going on, a lot was going on. So I'm not sure this particular witness or this discussion of the crime scene is going to be very fruitful for the prosecution. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that this is true kind of a lot of the witnesses that I've watched so far in this trial is a wash. I haven't really felt, there's been an aha witness for the prosecution. And I think that goes to a lot of the skill of the defense attorneys and their cross-examinations that they're doing so far, which I think also previewed a little bit of their defense. They talked just now in the interview with Chanley about their use of force expert. This was something that they previewed during cross-examination of a witness yesterday, I believe. And so, they're doing a really good job, I think, of building up that doubt for the jury. I think that, it is problematic when you don't have those witnesses that come in and are really, a big bang for the prosecution, which you really haven't had yet here.
Yeah, and that goes to a point, Judge, that you've made a couple of times as this trial has moved on, is where's the beef? Yeah. Where's the case? We understand now why it was so important the first go around to have that evidence of that previous situation, because you see that there are some weaknesses here. When I look at it, I say the weird relationship with the handyman certainly raises flags.
Okay.
There are minor issues in terms of the story he told, but if they do a good job with an expert explaining that, that's very possible when you do a walkthrough so close to an event like that. So if they're able to sort of, explain that away, I'm not sure what else they really have to get a conviction.
Right, I don't disagree. At this point, I think that it's hard-pressed to get a unanimous decision. But I want to say one thing about your conversation about it being a wash at the end of the day with that testimony. I thought that, but I have to say the jury is so intent in listening, and I love when there are jury questions. I know some attorneys say, oh, that's great, and some attorneys say, heck no, they should never be allowed to ask a question. But they came out of that expert and said, but wait, we want to know, will the bullet leave a mark? And where it hits, is it going to leave a mark? And at the end of the day, the answer was it might. I didn't do those experiments. I don't know the answer. I'm speculating. But I still think, Christa, this jury is invested and asking pointed questions to try to salvage something out of the testimony.
I have mixed feelings as a trial lawyer about jurors' questions and getting to ask questions. I've had that happen in trials and always have had mixed feelings about it. But I tell you what, I think that it actually ends up being very good for the trial attorney that can pivot and figure things out, because they're almost like a live focus group that's happening right now in the courtroom, and you can see what's important to them. You're not asking all the questions that they have, and the witnesses aren't telling this jury everything that they need to know. And as the prosecutor, I would be concerned to make sure that those blanks get filled in, so this jury does not, still have those voids in terms of information. So if I were prosecuting this case, I might take that information that I'm learning that the jury wants and find another way to get it in that I can still get it in. And that way you're filling that void that jury has.
Yeah, I agree.
Great answer. I mean,
always thought
spot
questions
on.
were helpful for the prosecution when it comes from the jury. Because as you said, it gives them the opportunity to see where they might be missing the mark.
Yes.
And then they can go back and fix it if there's that opportunity.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So anyway, but we want justice out of these trials. So
Yes.
them getting the full story, anything that promotes that, I think is a good thing. So
Me too.
I guess in the end, I'm in favor of it. All right, Christa, stand by. We're going to take a break, folks. Coming up, we pivot to Mississippi and the father and son on trial, accused of chasing after and shooting at a black FedEx driver. You're watching Court TV, the front row seat to justice.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, shining a light on the controversy surrounding The Blind Side. The family that inspired the hit Hollywood movie now caught up in allegations focused on the legality